Today is an exciting day because there is a new product on the market, and I think this is a product that a lot of us have been waiting for a long time in the small size Emoto world. This is Warp 9's new widening and lower triple clamp for the FastAce front fork. There are a lot of cool features about this triple clamp, but before we get into that, let's show you exactly what this is going to look like straight out of the box. So let's get into it. Go ahead and open this up. Some protective foam there. Take the protective foam out. You'll see the actual triple clamp and all of its components here. So you've got the lower here. Let's go ahead and pull that out. It's got the bearing pre-installed onto it, so that is all ready to go. Here you've got the upper. This is a gorgeous upper. It has got two different mounting positions for your direct mount stem. So that is such a cool feature that they have included into this. Something really unique about this triple clamp is that instead of having a star nut in here, you've actually got a cap that screws in and is much more Moto style. So this is going to be amazing for actually tensioning the triple clamp and not having to worry about, you know, a star nut slipping or having to deal with a stem lock going all the way through like you normally would on the FastAce fork. From there, we have got a new axle. This is a much longer axle. It fits perfectly into your ALX13RC FastAce front forks. And then you've also got widening wheel spacers to go into your front wheel to make it fit the fitment of this wider axle. Something super unique that Warp 9 has provided is a 37mm and a 17mm brake adapter for this fork. So it steps it out wider, but the 17mm is used for a 220 rotor. The 37mm is used for a 240 rotor. Warp 9 has provided an additional spacer. This spacer says use on light beast steering tube above top clamp. So when it comes to fitting this up to the bike, we'll see if we need to use that spacer. I'm going to be fitting this triple clamp to an E-Ride Pro today, so we'll see how that goes. Last but not least is Warp 9 has provided some Loctite. They have always been pretty incredible about providing high quality Loctite on most of their parts that need it. So that is awesome that Warp 9 did that and packaged the triple clamp so nicely for us. There are a lot of key features for this triple clamp that are incredible and going to enhance the performance of your machine. But one of the first things that's really awesome about this is just the look alone. They kind of nailed the look of the CNC, the beautiful Warp 9 logo, but most importantly it comes in multiple different colors. And all of these colors anodized to match Warp 9's already existing colors. We can do it in gold, blue, red, mag, purple, and black, which is a ton of variety depending on the style of your bike, which is pretty unique and awesome. Another key feature of this triple clamp is it is 20mm wider. I think this is one of the most noticeable features because it opens up the possibility to fit a lot of different front tire options. If you like running an 1821 wheel set combo, you could even run an 8121 tire up front. If you're running supermotos, you can run a wider supermoto tire. So that is something that greatly improves your options for the front fork of this bike. We all know that the small size Emoto market has got a lot of bikes that happen to be stink bugged forward. That's where this 1-inch drop comes into play. You can slide the fork tubes down, raise the front end up, correct the geometry better, and that is why this drop is so crucial on these bikes. This triple clamp has two different bar mounting positions. So you can go a little bit further or back to kind of center point. And that's really nice depending on the type of rider you are. I would definitely play with those mounting positions to figure out what makes the bike most comfortable for you. It has also got a traditional Moto top cap. This is crucial in keeping the tension of your triple clamps together. A lot of these forks are based off of downhill forks and have kind of morphed into an Emoto fork. Now we've actually got a triple clamp that suits more of a Moto style. And that also brings me to the rigidity of this triple clamp overall. It is much more rigid, so it's actually going to prevent twisting. And that brings me to the next point about this triple clamp is it is much stiffer. Being much stiffer is going to prevent a lot of twisting that you'll usually see on these forks. Now, it's not going to be perfect. The chassis of the FastAce still has the capability of flexing, but this is a great way to try to improve that. And one of the last features about this triple clamp setup, which you've already seen in the unboxing, is that Warp 9 has provided a 220 rotor and a 240 rotor adapter for this triple clamp. I'm really impressed by all the features on this so far, but I've yet to mount it up to the bike, so let's take you through the process of what it takes to actually put this on the machine itself. All right, first step is to remove the front wheel. You'll need two 19 millimeters. I use a wrench and a socket. And you'll also need a 5 millimeter Allen to loosen the pinch bolts underneath. Once that's loose, you can push the axle straight through. Go ahead and remove the front wheel. Now I'm gonna go ahead and remove the brake caliper. Now I'm gonna go ahead and remove the front number plate. And then remove the front fender. From there I can remove the left fork leg, loosen up the pinch clamps. And then do the same to the right fork leg. And I'll remove the stem lock and all the spacers. And it's time to remove the actual triple clamp. And all I got to do that is loosen up this bolt here on the edge. Get some gloves on, get some grease. And you'll want to work this grease into the bearing. Next on the list is the bearing that is already in the bike. You're gonna want to pull this out and clean it, and clean this area and then re-grease it. And reinstall the top seal. Now this portion is the most crucial. This is where you will be installing the actual triple clamp. So I'm going to slide the triple clamp up and in, slot it through the bottom there, make sure that goes all the way up. Now you probably remember in the kit, there was a little spacer. This spacer is gonna go on, like so. Once that's on, you take the top triple, slot it there, and now you can see that there is a gap here. This gap needs to be closed off so that the actual top cap will suck down and pull the bottom of the triple clamp up and push the top down. So I'm going to find a spacer that's going to fit and give me the room to do that. That spacer is a little bit tall, that one is too short. You need at least 3 millimeters of a gap between the top of the steer tube and the top of the spacer itself. At that point, you're good to install the actual top cap. Just going to put a little bit of tension on that, and then I'm going to torque this top cap to the correct spec. So before I go ahead and I torque this top down, I'm actually going to install my bars and install my headlight again, and then I'm also going to slide in the fork tubes. I'm going to tighten down the lower triple clamp and leave the top loose. At that point, I can torque this top nut down, and then I can also torque the pinch bolt on the back down And then once that's all done, that's going to actually pull the forks into the proper tension. And at that point, I can tighten down and torque the top triple clamp as well. Go ahead and install the fork leg. Do not forget about your bumper. Now that the fork legs are back on the bike, that has aligned the triple clamp. Remember, keep these loose. And now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to torque the top nut. That is a 24 millimeter. I'm going to torque it to 20 Newton meters. Now that my top nut has been torqued to 20 Newton meters, I'm going to torque each one of these pinch bolts to 11 Newton meters. On the lower triple clamp, it's important to torque the lower, torque the higher, torque the lower, torque the higher until both of them sit evenly within the same tension. I'm going to go ahead and reinstall the front number plate now. Remember, because this is wider, it's going to have to stretch a little bit more, but it doesn't stretch much. It actually fits really well. Now it's time to reinstall the front fender. It's important to put Loctite on these bolts because they are prone to coming out. There's a lot of vibration that goes through the front end of these. All right, that front end's looking pretty good. Not done yet though. It's time to install the front brake onto here. I'm doing a 220 millimeter rotor on my front wheel, so I'm going to use the 17 millimeter brake adapter for this. Now it's important that you route this cable on the inside of your fork guard. It keeps it out of the way. Trust me, it's not gonna hit your spokes if you do this right. So be sure to route it inside and make sure your zip tie that attaches to the fork guard is really strong. There's an up arrow on this. This is what you install to the fork. This is where the caliper installs. We can go ahead and zip tie this brake cable. Set it into the guide, put a little bit of tension on it there. And then tighten down the zip tie quite a bit. Once it's snug, this is not going to move, so it's important that it's ran to the inside there. This will stay in place at all times. It won't hit your spokes. It'll be out of the way. If you route it on the outside, that can catch, a branch, or it can catch anything externally and rip your hose off. So be sure to route this to the inside of the fork leg. I'm gonna go ahead and take the new axle and put a thin layer of grease over that. Doesn't have to be a lot, just enough. Then I'm going to install the new wider wheel spacers into the hub itself. Once that's lined up, I'll go ahead and I'll put the axle through again. I'll put the axle nuts in both sides. Once you do that, kind of try to center out the axle a bit. And then take two 19s. Now I'll tighten up the pinch bolts to the axle itself. And this is going to be tightened the same way that the triple clamp was previously tightened. You tighten one side, move to the other, tighten that side, and then move back and forth until they are tight. Now that the wheel is on and tightened down, we need to secure and align the brake caliper. One of the easier ways to do this is to tighten these up to where you've just got a very small amount of play. Spin your front wheel and then hit your front brake and hold that front brake. From that point, just go ahead and tighten the bolts down right where the front brake landed. Make sure to get those really nice and snug. And once again, make sure that these bolts are Loctited. Then you can release. Once you spin it, if you don't hear any noise, that means that that is properly aligned. What a huge difference this triple clamp has made. It is so much wider up front. I could fit a much wider front tire. I could go to an 1821 wheel setup and fit an 80-121 front tire on there. That's how much wider this made it. It's huge for the supermoto crowd. That's gonna be so nice to just get a wider wheel and tire in there, as well as the drop effect that it had. The actual geometry of the bike is now raised up a little bit, and you still have the ability to slide that and really fine tune exactly where you want that geometry to fit to feel the balance of the bike. But this has been a huge upgrade, and I'm so stoked on Warp 9's new product. If you're planning on getting this triple clamp and you guys have got any other questions, please feel free to comment below. Thank you for watching. We really appreciate the support. It would help a ton if you hit that subscribe button. But let us know what you think about this new triple clamp. I think it's gonna make a huge difference on all of these small bikes, whether you're on a Surron, a Talaria, an E-Ride, a Ventus, doesn't matter. If you've got a FastAce front fork, this triple clamp is going to be epic in getting this to fit properly.